here's Trixie, and she wants to explore my body a little bit. So hey, let's go crazy.
Wow.
That if
You're
it weren't my
sicko.
daughter,
That's
I'd
one
applaud
theory.
that.
Well, I mean, it's
I just can't, and I just think that's pretty unlikely.
Can you tell them as outlandish as that is? How old is your daughter?
14.
Just gets worse and worse and worse. If it wasn't my daughter, I would love that scenario. Two 14-year-old girls exploring each other's bodies, says Tucker Carlson. Yep. Pretty big self-report, if you ask me. Everybody, you have known this for some time. Tucker Carlson and conservatives, Matt Walsh, Libs of TikTok, Christopher Rufo, Andy No, you name it, they are waging war on LGBTQ people. They have chosen trans people and trans children specifically as their targets, and as we see the horrifying rise of Christian nationalism, not only in the United States, but in Canada and the rest of the world as well, they seem to be picking a consistent target, and that target right now is trans people. It is horrifying, and they are drawing lines in the sand, and they are now doing drastic measures. They are engaging directly in stochastic terrorism. They are telling people what targets they want people to go after, such as the Boston Children's Hospital, and then they're getting people so mad through lying. By the way, it should be stipulated that they are lying through their teeth, saying things that aren't true, telling people that apparently these hospitals are performing hysterectomies on kids. Can you believe this? It's horrifying. And it's just not true. Not only does the hospital not do that, not only is there not an overwhelming record of just like thousands and thousands of kids who against their will, had genital surgery and all of a sudden they regret it and they're all like, oh my God, how could this happen? Like, if that existed, conservatives and the right would be championing these causes and issues on a daily basis. They only have a few fringe cases because detransitioning and transitional regret is so low that the few people who do experience it, and it is unfortunate for those who experience it, but those who do, they will then amplify their voices. And so if we have something where it's less than 5% of people typically are regretful of their transition, and those who do detransition, they report that one of the biggest reasons they do it is because of social stigma from them transitioning in the first place. So if you have that and you give these people a megaphone, obviously everyone's going to be like, oh my God, this is a huge problem. We have to talk about that. But in the process and the pursuit of bigotry and hatred, they're endangering all kids' lives, not just trans kids, all kids. If you are attacking hospitals, if you are disrupting services in hospitals, you are going to get kids killed. They do not care about children. In fact, they don't even care about pedophiles, which is what I'm here to talk to you about today. So, thanks to Aaron Reed, who should follow at Aaron in the Morn. Only Tucker Carlson leaving the image of hospital executives at a hospital that provides gender-affirming care to trans teens a minute after saying that they are criminals and deserve the bomb threats they receive and naming them one by one.
In the hope that these people will do something to stop these crimes before the lives of more children are destroyed. So the board members would include Edith Carroll Johnson, John F. Stein, Jeffrey R. Balzer, Lucinda M. Baer, Daniel Diermeyer, Sarah J. Finley, John R. Ingram, Michael M. E. Johns, Samuel E. Lynch, Alexander C. Taylor, and Makiba Williams. In the hope that these people will do something to stop these crimes before the lives.
So, Tucker Carlson does this. Matt Walsh does this as well. Within the past few hours after Matt Walsh's attack on Vanderbilt and Tucker Carlson's coverage, users of 4chan and the Donald are calling for the outright murder of doctors. This is exactly what they want. A user on the Donald wants to do Nazi-style book burnings at Vanderbilt. In 1933, the first Nazi book burning started with the Magnus Hirschfeld's Institute for Sexuality. A trans woman was murdered by the Nazis as they stormed the institute to pull the books to burn, which is an unfortunate piece of history, but it is 100% true. I can give you, let's see if I still have this. A quick little primer and teach y'all a little bit of history if you didn't already know this. It's from an upcoming Serfs documentary, so you get a freebie.
Like, what is that? Post-surrealism? He's like, no, this is real. It's happening. No, it becomes this. Look, I dress like this just in drag.
Well, like, Hitler was in part a response to this kind of culture developing in Germany.
Now, let's be clear. Of course, no one is defending Hitler.
You see, it was the Nazis that specifically began to target and vilify LGBTQ people as part of their program. Up until that point, the largest gender research facility, hospital, and/or educational facility that had ever existed was targeted specifically by the Nazis and burnt to the ground. They saw trans people and queer people in general as degenerates who needed to be purged from society.
The Institute didn't have a happy ending. Being a gay, Jewish, sexual liberation activist during the rise of the Nazis, Hirschfeld was a target. Hitler himself described Hirschfeld as the most dangerous Jew in Germany. So tragically, on May the 6th, 1933, Nazi demonstrators raided the libraries of the Institute of Sexology. More than 20,000 books were taken from the shelves and burned in the streets by Nazi youth groups. Thousands of irreplaceable photographs, artifacts, and medical records were lost, destroyed. Decades of work gone in an instant. Some sources say a sculpture of Hirschfeld was taken during the raid, skewered, carried on a stick, and then burned in the bonfire. Many of the Institute's residents were killed during the attacks, and those who survived were sent to concentration camps.
So, this is exactly what they're doing. They know what they're doing. This is why Tucker Carlson will start the show by saying just another day in Weimar. And then Steven Crowder and his co-host will be like, well, this is what led to Nazis, you know? That's like, it's almost as if it's a threat. It's like, well, see, things have gone too far. And if you don't stop them, if you don't do what we want, we will go full fash. We will go full Nazi because, yeah, that's what the Nazis did. That, or they just have a complete misunderstanding of history. Even those not calling for the murder are calling for the mass arrest of all doctors, administrators, and insurance executives involved in gender-affirming care, as well as activists and allies. 4chan users were absolutely giddy when they saw Tucker Carlson name the Vanderbilt board members because they wanted him to name the Jews. Yes, you heard that right. The naming board members was intentionally done by Tucker to incite death threats against them and to get close to the clinic. Users on extremist sites are ogling. The use of stochastic terror to close down gender-affirming care clinics is on full display. This is ramping up so quickly right now, so I want everyone to pay close attention because it's no longer, well, this is theoretically, I think they could be targeting blah, blah, blah. No, they are doing it now on a regular basis, and they are being amplified by some of the biggest names in these corners. I mean, Tucker Carlson is the biggest late night TV show. So I have to say, at this point, it's something in which you cannot stand on the sidelines anymore and just watch as a passive observer, especially if you are a cis person and you see this happening to the trans community. This is something that everyone has to be actively fighting against. Here's the good news. This is made possible thanks to the anonymity of the internet, because there was a big public protest that was supposed to take place outside of Boston Children's Hospital, and guess what? Only a couple people showed up, because in real life, the disgusting ugliness of all of this, once a light is shown on you and once you're out on the street and like you have to be seen by other people, it's such a gross, bad look that not a lot of people want to do it. It's one thing to be on 4chan or Kiwi Farms or any of these websites just typing from, you know, the anonymous corners of the internet being like, oh lol, we got to get them all kind of stuff. It's another thing entirely to come out in public and actually do that kind of stuff. Now, this brings us to the latest part of the culture wars, and I'm sure you all know what I'm about to talk about. This is going to be a little bit more lighthearted, so you can decompress slightly from all the horrors and atrocities that we were just talking about, because we are going to be talking about milk expansion porn. I never thought I'd say that sentence out loud, that this is related to the story somehow, but it is, and this has become the new focal point and the new culture war focal point, because Tucker Carlson happens to be obsessed with some very giant breasts.
Now, there have always been threats to children. In every society, there are people like this. And every society deals with them swiftly and very harshly. Let's spare the outrage here and just be real about it, which is...
What are you talking about? She put her head between his legs.
This is a teacher in Oakville, Ontario, Canada. Apparently a trans teacher. I happen to think, this is my personal opinion, doesn't mean I'm right, I could be definitely wrong. I think this is an anti-trans troll. That said, maybe it's not. So... regardless, as I'm gonna...
So this story is going around conservative circles almost everywhere. It doesn't matter if you're looking at Tucker Carlson or Shoe on Head or who it is. Everyone is... this is the latest outrage. This is as big a story right now in the right as previously Drag Queen Story Hour was back in the day because of the specifics. Now, obviously, I am not here to defend the choice of, let's just say, attire by this individual. This is not my place. This is not the hill to die on. I'm not going to be part of the camp that says if you think that this is appropriate, then you are transphobic or anything like that. this seems to be what I find the right always does, is they pick fringe cases of things that have happened. There are, of course, because trans people are not a monolith, there are trans people that have committed very bad acts and done terrible things, and they usually take those cases and then they will amplify those stories. It'll be like, hey, by the way, this one individual, committed a crime or a felony. That means all trans people are capable of doing that, which the same rules would not apply to cis people, but that's just what they do with trans people. So they will find extreme cases and they will amplify those extreme cases until everyone has to basically be like, well, are you going to defend this? Are you going to? Or do you think this is okay? Is this the future? When it's like, are the majority of people who are trans and are working in schools dressing or looking like this? No, the answer is absolutely, unequivocally not. This is basically more outrage porn for Tucker Carlson and the right.
I get to this first clip here. Tucker uses this one overtly ridiculous example to paint an entire group of people as predators and extremists. Meanwhile, conservatives are literally stripping people of their rights while holding others back from getting any. But let me start with this first clip from Tucker's segment.
So this week, videos surfaced on the internet from a place called Trafalgar High School in Oakville, Ontario. That's right across the lake from Niagara Falls. These videos show a teacher called Stephen Hanna, who apparently has been employed at Trafalgar High for several years. Recently, Hanna decided to dress like a woman, or more precisely, as a grotesque caricature of a woman, not a real woman, but a kind of pneumatically inflated Marilyn Monroe lookalike. As part of his costume, Hanna strapped on a pair of gigantic prosthetic breasts, each the size of a 10-pound watermelon. We're not exaggerating here. They're visible from at least 100 yards away, if not from space. We'll show you the picture we are right now on the screen.
Like I said, a little more lighthearted because it is pretty fucking hilarious how Tucker Carlson tries to wrap his head around some of these concepts.
But here's the thing. Hanna isn't doing this in private, in his home, in restaurants and clubs. If he were, we would not be mentioning it on the show because it would not be our business. Have fun, Stephen Hanna. No, Stephen Hanna is doing it in class, in front of children. As the Canadian journalist Jonathan Kay put it, Hanna has been dressing like this for a while, but only recently have students within the school gone public with this fact. So they've been enduring this for a while. Kay also notes that Hanna's costume is based on the style of Japanese internet pornography, which translates roughly into English as exploding milk porn.
Did you have that on your bingo cards, everyone? 2022, the year of our Lord. Tucker Carlson says exploding milk porn. Let's slow this one down for the prosperity.
Is based on the style of Japanese internet pornography, which translates roughly into English as exploding milk porn.
I know. It's what a time to be alive. What a time to be alive. Never thought I'd see the day, but here we are. Here we are. It's quite strange. Quite strange. So let's recap very quickly because clearly this is something that people want to have and use as a litmus test. I'm gonna be 100%. Like if this is the line they want to draw, this is like this is a litmus test. We need to know, are you okay with this? And to be honest with you, no, I don't think that's appropriate attire for school, not because of the mere size of the breasts, but because you have obviously the nipples itself penetrating through the costume, penetrating through the shirt kind of stuff. That being said, I don't even know if this is real. I don't know if it's been confirmed if this individual is in fact real or if this individual does work at a school or anything of that. And if that is the case, fine. I think you could dress more appropriately if you are going to be around and teaching kids. But I don't think this is an actual problem. I don't think this is a real thing. I think this is something where if this is a true story, then you found one case of this happening. For the vast majority of other individuals who happen to be, trans, or even if they're cis, they don't dress like that. There are cis women who have enormous breasts. That is how they were born. I don't think they have, thin shirts on where you can see, nipples penetrating through the shirts as they engage in public. I'm not sure what it is, but this is not a real thing. I do not think this is a case in which everyone should suddenly be outraged about it, you know? I think it's something where the right is using it to drum up controversy, as they are wont to do. I would also like to give a huge shout out to David Dole, who pointed out Tucker's hypocrisy when it comes to endangering kids so fast. He found this clip, which is like treasure trove.
An unusual one anyway. A lap dance in front of the entire class. Alicia Smith, pictured on the screen, accused of grinding on the 15-year-old, putting her head between his legs and fondling him. Smith reportedly admits to doing all this, but only after the rest of the class, she says, convinced her to.
Okay.
So, you know, I think legitimate opinion divides whether this was appropriate for the classroom or not. But there are people, hold on, let me finish. There are people out there who believe that there ought to be criminal sanctions brought against this woman. And I think that's deranged.
So if the class had
because there's no victim here.
If the class had tried to convict her or convince her of committing a crime like killing somebody, which you've done it too.
But this isn't a crime. That's the point I'm making. A crime suggests a victim, and
what do you
no
mean
one
there's no
here
victim,
is
though? There's a 15-year-old kid, and then you have a grown-up teacher.
There's a 15-year-old boy.
15
and so it's having been a 15-year-old boy, I can tell you, unless there's something we don't know about this kid's life has not been destroyed.
I have taught 15-year-old boys. I assure you they are still kids.
This is the
they may be laughing.
May have not cut it there because someone else is talking when Tucker interrupts, but he says, this is the dream of a 15-year-old boy. These are the same people who lost their shit because they thought drag queens were giving lap dances to kids, which they weren't. That was Shoe on Head posting a picture of a kid sitting in a chair at a drag queen event, and that picture was supposed to insinuate that the kid either had or was about to get a lap dance. It was a deceptive move by Shoe to have done, and a disgusting one, but that was not the case. The kids were not getting lap dances from drag queens, but yet Tucker Carlson, when there's an example of a teacher having done that to a 15-year-old boy to the point where the teacher's face was in the boy's crotch, in that moment Tucker Carlson is like, oh, well, I mean, this is every 15-year-old boy's dream. This is totally fine, you know?
But I assure you,
I mean, you're not embarrassed?
Well, no, look, I'm not saying I want this going on in my kid's school. I'm just saying, let's spare the outrage here and just be real about it, which is...
What are you talking about? She put her head between his legs.
Okay, she was, you know, acting out a lap dance. They're unusual.
Acting out a lap dance. It's totally fine. It gets worse, by the way. Here's Tucker Carlson in April 2006 defending a female teacher who slept with a 13-year-old male student 28 times in a single week. That means that was 28 times that a woman raped a young boy.
What's going on in the world of politics today,
Well,
Brett?
I don't know about the world of politics. So I'm just reading the story, trying to figure out how to get it into our show tonight about the kid, the 13-year-old who was, I guess, molested, they're saying, by his teacher, who had sex with him 28 times in 1 week.
Now, did this hit the wire just now?
Yeah.
Yeah, I got a picture of this beast.
Really?
She's from Delaware, Rachel Holt.
Right.
She's, let me see, she's 5 feet tall, 165 pounds.
And she's the teacher.
She's the teacher,
Here
and
she
she slept with this kid 28 times in 1 week. Now, I ask you...
In 1 week?
You have a lot of experience. You've been around, right? Could you do that?
Could I sleep with well, not a kid, but can I sleep with a woman?
Could you sleep with a 165-pound woman 28 times in 1 week? Are you physically capable of doing that, or do you take your hat off to this kid?
Yeah, this kid should get like a Nobel Peace Prize.
The Presidential Medal of Freedom,
yeah.
anyway.
But at the end of the day, but see, you know, now, as double standard as everybody wants to be, it just seems like so much more of a crime from this beast than it does with Deborah LaFave, does it not?
Totally. I mean, look, my theory on this is, you know, 13-year-old boys have one goal, obviously, in life.
To get laid.
Of course. And they take that out on 13-year-old girls. Now, 13-year-old boys getting laid, not a bad thing. 13-year-old girls getting laid, bad thing, particularly if the 13-year-old girl is your daughter,
See,
right?
why are we so double standard in the fact that, you know, 13-year-old boy getting a little booty, it's just the man's way, no big deal, doesn't even really matter who it
Because you're all sexist weirdos who are okay with pedophilia as long as it's happening to young boys. That's it, you know? You're completely fine with pedophiles as long as the offender is a woman. That's all there is.
is. I mean, I guess it really does, but I mean, in our messed up mind. But boy, as soon as it's a 13-year-old girl, everybody wants to, you know, burn that person at the stake.
Because when a 13-year-old boy is 35, he can barely remember the girls he slept with when he was 13.
Ah, that's it. So if you're a boy, you can't remember because you're just having so much sex, you know, when you're a 13-year-old boy, you're just so much sex. You can't even remember who you're having sex with. So later on, it won't mess you up. But if you're a woman, you remember every single person you have sex with livid details. So that's got to be why, right?
That's true. Right? But a 13-year-old girl, when she's 35, she's still thinking about that guy. I mean, it's just a much deeper experience for girls at that age, and they're not ready for that.
Girls are far more screwed up than we are. We can just have sex and screw and be done with it. They really keep a part of them.
Exactly. So my point is that teachers like this,
I feel so sorry for every single woman who has had to endure any kind of sexual contact with any of these weirdos, because this is just fucked up beyond belief on every single level. This weird idea that women are deeply disturbed when they have sex. It imprints upon them. They can't forget it. They never stop thinking about it. Dudes can fuck whoever they want, even if they're 13 years old. Doesn't matter if they fuck a 45-year-old woman, technically raped by them, but that doesn't matter, because at the end of the day, we can just have sex and sex and sex as much as we need to, right? That's just it's just how we're programmed. It's biology, bro, all right? This is the way we were made. Do I have to explain this to you? These are dream makers, okay? This is a gift. Why are we calling this out? Why are we arresting these women? We're arresting women, the dream makers who are making these boys' lives the best thing ever? What are we doing here?
not necessarily this one in particular, but they are doing a service to all 13-year-old girls by taking the pressure off. They are a pressure relief valve, like the kind you have on your...
That's it. Okay, so if you missed it, what Tucker Carlson just said in 4K, by the way, is that pedophiles, women who rape young boys, are doing a service because those young boys would be having sex with young girls, and so that would be the bad thing. But it's better if they're raped by older women, because then, again, it's a service. Yes. That is exactly what Tucker Carlson just said. 4K. Yeah, I don't know if the 4K thing applies to video. What's video? In 320 kilobytes per second in flack. He just got caught in flack, y'all. Okay, got caught in flack defending pedophiles. It somehow gets much worse. Yes, that's right. So I mean, I put a content warning on the screen, but it's about to get much worse than that last clip. Much worse. Yes.
Well, actually, he's not in prison for that. Warren Jeffs didn't marry underage girls.
No, he's in prison for facilitation of child rape.
Whatever the hell that means.
That means
he's in prison. He's in prison because he's weird and unpopular, and he has a different lifestyle that other people.
Oh, who's he talking about, you might be asking? All right, allow me to introduce you to Warren Jeffs. Warren Jeffs is an American religious leader and convicted child rapist. He's the president of the Fundamentalist Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, a polygamous denomination of the Latter-day Saints movement. In 2011, he was convicted of 2 felony counts of child sexual assault, for which he is serving a life sentence plus 20 years. In 2006, Jeff was placed on the FBI's 10 most wanted list for his flight from charges that he had arranged illegal marriages between his adult male followers and underage girls in Utah. In 2007, Arizona charged him with 8 additional counts in 2 separate cases, including incest and sexual conduct with minors. In September 2007, Jeff was convicted of 2 counts of rape as an accomplice, for which he was sentenced for imprisonment for 10 years to life in Utah State Prison. This conviction was overturned by the Utah Supreme Court due to flawed jurisdictions. Jeff was extradited to Texas, where he was found guilty of sexual assault of a minor, for raping a 15-year-old to whom he was married, aggravated sexual assault against a child, for raping a 12-year-old whom he had married, for which he was sentenced to life in prison plus 20 years and fined $10,000. That is who Tucker Carlson is now defending with a lot of conviction.
People find creepy.
No, he's an accessory to the rape of children. That is a felony, and a serious one at that.
What do you mean an accessory? He's got some weird religious cult where he thinks it's okay to, marry underage girls, but he didn't do it. Why wouldn't the guy who actually did it, who had sex with an underage girl, he should be the one who's doing life?
When you're too extreme for Bubba the Love Sponge, when Bubba the Love Sponge is like, Tucker, my dude, you had me on the whole white Aryan superiority shit and the white supremacist stuff, and even the dream maker stuff. Women teachers can have sex with 13-year-old boys, and they're just doing everyone a service. You had me on all that, but you're kind of losing me on Warren Jeffs. This is something that I gotta put my foot down. This one, Tucker, this one's not gonna fly.
Rapist in this case has made a lifelong commitment to live and take care of the person, so it is a little different. I mean, let's just be honest about it. He's not accused of touching anybody. He is accused of facilitating a marriage between a 16-year-old girl and a 27-year-old man. That's the accusation. That's
what they're calling felony
I know,
rape.
but
in our state,
That's bullshit.
But
I'm sorry. Now, this guy may be a total maybe a child rapist. I'm just telling you that arranging a marriage between a 16-year-old and a 27-year-old is not the same as pulling a stranger off the street and raping her. That's bullshit.
Woo! So, hey, if any single person wants to get holier than thou and use clips of Tucker Carlson to talk about grooming or pedophilia or rapists, I'm sorry, he has lost all of the moral high ground. All of it. He has none. Absolutely none. He didn't have any before. This was all revealed, obviously. But now it's pretty clear that this motherfucker is completely fine defending pedophiles and rapists. It's absolutely disgusting. If someone comes forward to you, showing you a Tucker Carlson clip, respond with this. Be like, oh, I'm sorry. That person's opinion is not valid on these matters because he has previously defended pedophiles with a lot of conviction. A lot of conviction. And by the way, shoe on head. I see this is a topic that you're very interested in right now. Can you make a video on Tucker Carlson and all his rape apologia, you know, because that's kind of your thing. You love pointing out when people are endangering children. I got one for you. Tucker Carlson, there's a whole bunch of it.
But you know what, in my brief experience, you know what gets women going is arguing with them.
Really?
Yeah.
Brad, I never use that.
It's true. You debate politics with a woman and just go, you know, just full blown out there, especially feminism. If you're talking to a feminist, and she's giving you, well, you know, men really need to be more sensitive, and this, you know, actually, men don't need to be more sensitive. You just need to be quiet and kind of do what you're told.
And lighten up a little bit, bitch.
They love it.
Alexis Stewart, we run into her all the time.
She seems
Cunt.
awful.
Yeah, she is awful.
They're very cunty.
She seems extremely
I like
cunty.
to hear that word out of, oh, yeah, I stepped over him. She seems, what? Now, go ahead.
She just does seem a little cunty. Yeah, I mean, you said it. I'm just agreeing with you. I don't use that word because it's
Right,
offensive.
I'd love for Tucker Carlson tonight on MSNBC, a girl that comes across kind of cunty.
Well, she does. I mean, I heard her. Now I'm a Brent fan, so okay, I'm stating my bias right out front here. But I heard her on with him, and I just wanted to give her the spanking she so
I
desperately
actually
needs.
watched.
When she's laying her head in your bed at night, you know who the hell's in her bedroom and what they're doing. Nobody, just her. Well, when she's in a dormitory type setting and these little girls start experimenting around, next thing you know, you got a lesbian on your hands.
I don't think that's likely.
Next thing you know, Brad, what's going on in the Combe dormitory? Nothing. I don't got a PSP to play. I ain't got nothing going on. I ain't got my mom and dad here to tell me that they love me and tuck me in bed. So here's Trixie, and she wants to explore my body a little bit. So, hey, let's go crazy. Wow.
That if it weren't my daughter,
That's
I'd
one
applaud
theory.
that.
Well, I mean, it's
I just can't, and I just think that's pretty unlikely.
Can you tell them as outlandish as that is? How old is your daughter?
14.
Well, I love women, but they're extreme.
I told you it gets worse. Just gets worse and worse and worse. If it wasn't my daughter, I would love that scenario. 2 14-year-old girls exploring each other's bodies, says Tucker Carlson. Yep. Pretty big self-report, if you ask me.
Extremely primitive. They're basic. They're not that hard to understand.
Putting Paris and Brittany in a commercial with Obama is classic old school miscegenation, old South.
Uncle Tom.
It's old South. These two young white girls are going to be dating a black man.
Say that he's coming for your pristine white daughters by putting two of the biggest white whores in America.
You want to fuck Sarah Palin?
There's that. There is that. I'll agree with that. I feel sorry for unattractive women.
That one of all of them is probably the most benign. That one's kind of just the like, oh, okay. I mean, that's all right, Tucker.
I mean, there's nothing they did, you know?
What's better than hockey, weed, and whores? I mean...
But first of all, there's no Canadian woman that you'd want to pay to sleep with. Anybody who answers my trophy wife is my favorite possession is my hero. I don't give a shit. I'm voting for the guy.
So, that's Tucker Carlson. Yeah. Gonna be posting, obviously, all these clips in the Ghoulery, reddit.com/r/the Serfs TV. If you have clips of right-wingers, be they Matt Walsh, Libs of TikTok, Higher I Check, Christopher Rufo, Andy No, etc., boasting about this kind of shit, being massive hypocrites, pretending to care about the welfare of children, when in turn they often sexualize children, shit like that, you know, how Tucker Carlson does, please post them in the Reddit. We'll start a database of all of this kind of shit. But I mean, there seems to be a consistent pattern here, right? Every single person who comes forward to talk to you about how, well, you know, I care about kids. This is about children, and it disturbs me that that these teachers want to discuss things like sexuality with them, and it's about the sanctity and purity of these kids, blah blah blah. What's their opinion on child brides? What's their opinion on the Catholic Church? What's their opinion on the abduction of Indigenous kids and the rape of Indigenous kids by the Catholic Church? What's their opinion on any of these things? Like, what's their opinion on the age of consent? How about we open or start with that one? Well, I mean, I just want to be transparent about this. I think the age of consent could be no. Of course, I knew it. It's a matter of time. Okay, just hear me out here, okay? In Europe, where they are far more enlightened, the age of consent is at no. Okay, that is misleading. That is not true. Even if you're going to drop some weird shit like it's actually 15 in Europe, that's between other 15-year-olds. Not for you, sir. You are a 47-year-old man. Disgusting. Shame on you. That's just, that seems to be a consistent pattern. Shout out to Ched's TikTok as well for pointing this one out. I didn't even know about these clips until Ched's TikTok pointed it out. So, weird.
Do you enjoy the Serfs but prefer not to have to use your eyeballs? Many are saying this. Well, we've got the solution for you. It's the Serf Times in podcast form. Available on most major podcasting networks now. If you enjoy it, please consider leaving a good review and feedback because it really helps the show out, apparently, and it's free, just like the podcast.
To our gods, Xander Corvus and Peyton L. Juste, we shall spend many a generations building mighty cathedrals in your honor. To our monarch, Tom Spiker, we are but your oafish jesters, here to offer you a laugh at any opportunity. To our brave knights of the Round Table, Rachel K., Izzy Solidarity, Victoria Bell, Sebastian Demmel, Mark Harmon, Benji Arney, Scary Earth Human, Tony, DM Rivera, Resident Scarecrow, Sir Nickus, Cheryl Alvarez, Ruby Kelly, Brandon, Words Greenwood, Everything Important, Hegbert Celine, Matthew Scarborough, Stellar Vision, Ariane McCarthy, Doug Cady, Daniel Sutton, Jenna Tao, Dark Puppy, Quiet One 85, Anna Loves Riley, Omni, Riley and Anna, Poodlehawk, Multimondi, Trevbot EXE, Brian Ephraim, Anthropophojack, Catherine, Ramon Acosta, Nkosin, Ralph Parler, Violent Orchard, Political Puppy, La Media Panza, Todd Buckingham, and Todd La Jeunesse. We salute our valiant heroes off to fight injustice everywhere.